Hey squad, welcome back. Today I'll be doing a quick overview of the brand new Waves Studioverse Instruments plugin, as well as the completely revamped Studio Rack, which now comes in the form of the brand new Studioverse Audio Effects Rack. I'll do a quick review on how both of these fantastic tools work and show you how I've made this quick Afrobeats track using both of them. So let's dive in. Okay, so my production started with these 4 tracks. So I thought I'd take advantage of using the new Studioverse Instruments and Studioverse Audio Effects plugins to move the project forward. Now before we dive into this video properly, I must let you know that you can download and try out these tools absolutely free of charge using the link that I have highlighted in the description. You've got nothing to lose, but you can gain a great experience by exploring these fantastic new plugins. So the first thing I did was create a brand new software instrument track, Waves, Studioverse Instruments, create. And here's the interface. It's really quite comprehensive and easy to use. Up here we've got our search bar, and right here we can search for sounds based on instrument type or based on genre. So let's say for example I was creating a lo-fi track and I wanted to find a synth pad. All I do is click lo-fi and I type pad right here. And here we go, synth pad. And here are all of the results. We click in this box just here to audition. Now I can use the up and down arrow keys on the computer keyboard to scroll through and audition automatically. Okay, I like this one right here, so let's try this one. Click the title just here to load it up. And as you can see up top here in the display, it's loaded up. So let's try it out on our MIDI keyboard. Lovely. Okay, so before we close this browser panel over here, what I want to show you is this. At the bottom here we can see Waves Audio. So that tells us that the Waves Audio team created this instrument patch. However, if we look down here, we'll see Gab Lavoie, who is the one who created that one. If we scroll up top, we've got Imaginate. So besides searching for sounds based on genre and instrument type, we can also search based on artist name. Gab Lavoie, for example. So let's try that. And there we go. If I was to click here, we'll see a whole catalogue of sounds created by Gab Lavoie that fit the tags just here. If I was to take away synth pad, then of course the catalogue will expand. Let's clear all. Now this is one of the great things about Studioverse because essentially it's a community of Waves users. You can set up your own Studioverse account and create custom instrument sounds and patches as well as audio effects, save them for yourself for later use, or make them available to the wider community. Anyway, let's close this for now and let's focus on what's going on here in the main window. If I was to click and hold just here, you get this menu come up and where you can do a range of different things. But these are some of the default presets that you'd get when you first load up the interface. We can enable or disable this panel just here, and we can determine the root key of this patch and also the scale. So you can click through like so. And this here is the master volume slider. Okay, so there are essentially just 2 more sections that you really need to concern yourself with. This section just here where we have these macro controls, and this section down here where the instrument is made up along with the audio effects being used. Let's have a look at this bit down here first of all, and then we'll go to the macro controls. So this button here of course switches things on and off, so we are able to enable or disable the whole line of instruments or effects being used. Let's click on this cell just here, instrument layer. Now what we're seeing here is we've got 2 instruments layered in parallel. We've got the CR8 sampler, which is this one, and we've got the Element synth, which is this one. Now the sound of the Element synth flows into the One Knob Driver plugin, and the CR8 sampler flows into the Enigma plugin. They then are combined together And over here, you can control them independently. You can add additional plugins here as well. So if I was to click here, let's say I wanted to add an EQ, and let's quickly pull up this API 550A. Our signal will then flow into that. Right click on this to remove the plugin. And over here, these controls affect whatever is on this line. Same for down here. I could add another instrument layer. If I was to click here, I could maybe add another instrument, maybe codecs, for example. And then of course I can add an effect, maybe a compressor. So LA2A here. These can all be controlled independently. And I can remove number 3 by clicking here. Now the combined sound of the instruments will flow in this direction. So the next thing that sound will hit is the Magma tube channel strip. Then it goes into the one knob pumper, then the J37 reel-to-reel. And this is one I added myself, another CLA2A. And of course you can add more if you wanted to. So very quickly down the bottom here, we've got our virtual keyboard. We've got our pitch wheel here, which I'm triggering using my MIDI keyboard, and we have a modulation wheel. At the very bottom, we've got the octave control, where we can adjust our keyboard range up or down by octaves, and we've got our maximum velocity setting. And finally, looking at the macro controls, these are fantastic because you've got 8 controls right here, and each one of these can be set up to control a specific parameter for either an instrument or an audio effect. So let's look at this one right here, pump. This here is directly linked to the one knob pumper. Let's open that up. And if I adjust here, we can adjust the amount of pump we're getting. And what I can do here is assign my own custom macro control to this knob. So just click here. Let's say I wanted to set this one up as an adjustment control for the J37 noise level. Let's click there. This is the noise level control on the J37. If I was to go like so, you'd see it being adjusted. So this is incredibly versatile and allows you to do a whole lot. I can disable this by going like so and disconnect. And now control number 8 is free to be reassigned to something else. Okay, so let's get practical. Let me show you how I used these Studioverse tools to create my production. Remember, I started with these few sounds. So the first thing I did was do a search based on genre. So I typed Afro in here and Afro beat. These are the results that came up for that particular genre, which isn't that many at the moment. I'm sure as the community grows, more and more will be added. But this one right here, I felt could work really well in the production. So that's what I loaded up right here. I made some minor adjustments to the delay. This is what we got. Next up was a pad. I did a search for synth pads, and this is the one I settled on. So here it is loaded up. Okay, and the next thing I added, which is over in this section here, I wanted to see what was available in terms of drums. So I thought, let me go for a kick drum. So once again, I did a search for kick, and of course I had a ton of results. Kick Punch 03 was the one that worked for me. This here is really coming from the CR8 sampler. Here's my kick. The other thing I've got going on is a lead right here. Let's bring in my lead, and this is my lead instrument. And then finally, I've loaded up a bass sound, which is the 808 Sub Punch. Okay, so have a quick listen to what we've got going on up until this point. Sounding good. Now here's the next thing I want to show you. I'm going to play from here. As we get into this section, I'm going to disable this Studioverse plugin right here, which is on the master bus. And this, in fact, is the Studioverse Audio Effects plugin. Have a listen. How amazing is that? Now, what I've got loaded up here right now is my custom Boom Bap Mix Chain 03, which you'll be able to load into your session. Just check the description of this video for a link to my Studioverse profile. Essentially what I've got going on here is a range of plugins to give me the sort of sound I'm looking for. I've got 5 plugins in this chain: Aphex Vintage Exciter, the Abbey Road Vinyl, J37, and the Abbey Road TG Mastering Chain, and of course I'm rounding off with an L3 Ultra Maximizer, all combined to give me the sound I'm looking for on my master bus. I haven't got any macro controls assigned here at the moment, but just like before, that's exactly what I could do. Let's say I wanted a stereo spread control added to macro 1. This of course would be this control over here. You'd see the adjustment taking place just here, and you could go through and assign whatever parameter you desire to these controls right here. Let's remove this. Now the Studioverse Effects plugin is not restricted to the master bus. You can also have it on a group bus. For example, I've got my drum bus right here, and I've got an insert of the Studioverse audio effect plugged in right there. I want to insert another one of my presets, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to type MTTC, Deuce MTTC, and here are a list of my presets. This one I want to insert on my drum bus is the Dr. Deuce Drum Bus Warmer. Click that, and here we are. I've got the Maserati GRP, Magma BB tubes, and the CLA 1176 compressor. And of course you can insert this effects plugin on any individual track as well. So before I play out, just reminding you that you can use the links in the description to download and try out all of the plugins and tools I've used in this tutorial video completely free of charge. And that includes the Waves Studioverse instruments, Studioverse audio effects. I've also got a link for you to try out Arcade by Output.com, and that's where my vocal samples are coming from. Definitely one to check out if you haven't looked at it before. You can also download this Logic project to explore and experiment with over on my Patreon account, patreon.com/MTTC. And if I've brought you value in this one, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and maybe become a patron. It all goes towards helping to support what I'm doing here on the channel. So until next time, I'm Deuce, I'm out, peace.